When I tell you that this was a fantastic episode, the best episode we have ever seen this franchise produce, I am not joking. I was peeing myself. I was hysterically laughing. This knocked me out of my seat. This recap is going to be different. It's going to be way longer than my usual ones. I won't be as vague. I want to go scene through scene and share with you the comedy that this brought to my heart. So, I'd say buckle up. Welcome back to my channel, and let us get right into the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. We pick up where we left off. The girls are arriving at the Trixie Motel in Palm Springs. Everybody's getting out their luggage out of the minivan. Lisa's still complaining about her $60K ring. Trixie Motel is greeting them at the motel. It is stunning. Everybody's happy. Everybody's in good spirits. They're ready to take a vacation. And then Trixie says the other guests have already arrived. And then everybody's like, what guests? And then Angie K and Whitney come out, and Meredith's already losing her poker face. Angie K is greeting everybody. Whitney is just so happy to be the ish star of this scene. You can just tell in her face. I will give personal opinion more at the end of this. I want to I want to go through the scenes first. Everybody's greeting Angie, and where I lost my shit is when Mary greeted Angie, and later on in the confessional said, well, who's Angie? Did I talk to an Angie? Is Angie a saint that I'm supposed to be worshiping? Who is she? She is just what this franchise needed. I'm so glad Juan Dixon is not here right now. I'm kidding. I'm so glad Mary Cosby joined this franchise back again. Everybody's picking out a room. The rooms are amazing. The rooms are very artistically avant-garde, I would say. Then when everybody picked up their rooms, Heather and Meredith get together for a little kiki chit-chat, and they are discussing the fact that Angie and Whitney bombed this trip with Angie's arrival. And, Meredith's recalling the times where she had some kind of negative experiences with Angie in the past, be it at the reunion, be it when Angie was repeating some rumor, and, kind of stating why she chose to exclude her out of this trip. Meanwhile, at the other side of the motel, at the pool with Angie K, Lisa, and Whitney, Angie is explaining how she thinks that she is in a good place with Meredith. She doesn't understand this passive-aggressive way that Meredith has with her, and why she would want to exclude her, and yada, yada, yada. Lisa and Whitney are pretty much on her side, but I will get to that later on how they deal with it. Then Mary Cosby is hungry for some pizza, okay? And she's going to the pool, getting herself some snacks, and Angie's like, well, come on over here, sit with us. And she was kind of pressing her a little bit, not too much, but we all know Mary. Mary's like, don't talk to me like that. I am not interested. I don't want to sit there. I don't like it. Gagged. I was gagged. Then Mary goes ahead and asks Whitney, what's this all about? Why they actually arrived earlier? And Whitney's explaining how she has a personal connection to Trixie, and they're actually friends. And, Angie is then inserting herself, and Mary cuts her off and tells her, I wasn't even really talking to you, so, well, she is immediately just shutting her down, and keep in mind, these were the first 7 minutes of this episode, and Mary gagged me about 11 times already. I can't. Amazing. Show-stopping. Never done before. It was just too good. So, yeah, that's what happened. So then Meredith heads out and gives all her guests gifts. She obviously didn't know that Angie was coming, so Angie's not going to receive a gift. Angie is visibly pressed. She's throwing shade left and right. Meredith is very excited. She even had t-shirts printed with "No Tricks, All Trust" on them. And Angie's like, well, that is probably just gifts that she wants to throw away, which I thought was so childish and unnecessary. And then Meredith reveals the plan for her first day. Everybody's going on a shopping tour with each other, and they're going to pick in pairs clothes for each other out. And Mary throws a little dig at Lisa that maybe they could even buy her $60K ring back. Iconic, amazing, I love it. Also, Mary being the gastronomic food enthusiast, this episode was so good. We then go into the rooms back again, and Angie K is kind of venting to Lisa about the little dig that Monica actually said to her, that she was being very rude to the hostess and coming in with the most. Monica clocks her right then and there and actually goes from outside to inside and confronts her about how she's talking behind her back. They kind of hash things out, and to be honest, yeah, Angie's like, well, I took you to the friend group, this and that, you should be thankful. And Angie's like, well, as a friend, I'm telling you, this is all just very rude of you. So the girls all go ahead and get on their shopping spree journey. So Whitney is with Heather, and Monica is with Mary, and Lisa is with Meredith. They're all paired together. They are supposed to pick out some clothes for each other, and Angie is by herself. And do you see how production did her? That is so shady, but that was so funny. When I read Angie and herself, I screamed. Anyways, I really enjoyed these pairings. I thought the shopping spree was fun. The fun little shade really came through in the confessionals. It was lightweight, not too much. A really good introduction to the, drama that was to come for the rest of this episode. Mary's even like, I'm going to pick for her and myself because I should definitely do the picking. And I really like the dynamic that Monica and Mary have, and Mary seems to enjoy Monica, and Mary is not the one or the two to enjoy a newbie in the franchise, but I think she kind of has a little soft spot for Monica. So that's on that. And also then all their girls gather around, show each other the outfits. Heather's like, we look like the rejected Barbies that are at the bottom of a play trunk, which I have to admit they kind of did. Some of them did look ridiculous. Lisa kind of looked like a little hooker, if I'm gonna be honest. I think Meredith was a little bit out for her to kind of get back and make her a little bit embarrassed by the choice of outfit, but then we actually go ahead and go out to dinner, and the dinner is very much explosive. And now, after all the shopping is done, the ladies gather round to go to the restaurant. They are on their way there, and Lisa, This is her personal start of her personal hell. She's hating her outfit. She's mentioning it every single second. You don't understand. She sucked the energy out of that minivan. She's being humiliated and she doesn't like it. She's half nude. She's half this. It's embarrassing for her. And even the front desk lady said that they look great, that they look beautiful. And Lisa's like, thank you, I know you're lying. And then once again, they're entering. She's still saying that she's so humiliated. And then Mary comes on in her confessional saying that whoever picked the outfit for Lisa truly doesn't like her. The shade was real. But the ladies all sit down. They take a look at the menu. They order some food. The food looked amazing once it arrived. They do a little toast to a fun little girls trip. And this is where the dinner party from hell is going to start. But we are pretty tame for now. So they're playing a game where everybody's saying an unexpected thing. Meredith's like, you probably don't know that I visit my grandparents here as a little child all the time. Heather's like, I really like birds. And then Mary's like, I had a bird. She was crazy. She always wanted to talk to me and it would always stare at me. She was a little, cuckoo in the head. And then Mary says that she's actually a loner and that everybody thinks that she is a socialite, but that could not be further from the truth. And as you guys can see here, she truly is. I mean, it was not really something unexpected. I'm not gonna hold you. We kind of knew that. And then Angie's like, well, you all probably think I'm a badass and a hard ass, but I'm actually really sensitive. And then Lisa's like, that is a really good attribute. I love Lisa chiming in. And then Lisa's like, well, you probably don't know, but I got my first and second piercing this week on my ears, so I'm being naughty. And then Monica's like, girl, how in the hell is this, the most unexpected thing? This is really no fun. So she's like, at my Nana's retirement home, there are far better stories to be heard. And then she's like, well, I effed my husband's brother-in-law for 18 months. And everybody shook. Everybody's like, you have to give us context. Mary's like, cheers to that. And then Meredith's like, well, Lisa might think I effed half of New York, but at in-laws, I really draw the line. And then Whitney is like, at this moment on, she knew she had to change the game because she was afraid that she would F the Pope or some else, like another wife's husband. But this is now the point where things go from cute and simple to drastically for the worse. Okay, so now Whitney is changing the game to warm and fuzzy, cold and prickly. Everybody's like, girl, what? What is that? She's explaining it. You take a person. Warm and fuzzy is the attributes that you like and appreciate, and cold and prickly is the attributes where you're kind of still 50-50 about where you think the person could work on it. So now Heather is starting out with Angie K. She's appreciating the fact that they are old titans and that they've known each other forever, and that's all the feels for them. Angie's very, they're having a little laugh about it. And then cold and prickly, Heather is a bit hesitant. Angie's like, lay it out on me, girl. And Heather bursts out that she basically does not trust her, and she says that to her face. everybody's reaction took me out. Mary couldn't be interested at all, less. And Lisa's chiming in and saying, well, why don't you trust her, actually? And Heather does not want to get into it. It's her cold and prickly with, Angie. And basically, Angie is, she's known her forever, and she doesn't appreciate the girls that, have the biggest in the room to, do, and she's never been her friend, and she feels like she's been around Lisa, she's been around Jen, and that didn't work out, so she does not know to trust her. Now, Whitney and Meredith's turn. Meredith's warm and fuzzy about Whitney is that she appreciates the fact that she always has positive, mindset and positive intentions for the group. She does truly appreciate it for her. And before Meredith can even finish, Whitney's little stirring pot as Sal is saying, and you're cold and prickly, is that I did bring Angie on this trip. Cue Heather's reaction. The way Heather downed those espresso martinis gave me life. Meredith's like, no, that's actually not what I was gonna go for. I think you need to work on your communication. And then Whitney's like, I am working on my communication once a week with my therapist. I was like, okay, Whitney, well, damn. And Mary's then like, well, no, Meredith, that's not true. You actually did mention that you had a problem with her bringing Angie to this trip. And then cue, the flashback of Mary and Meredith discussing the thing with Whitney and Angie, that they kind of stormed the trip. And, she kind of put her in her place, Mary, in that second, but I think she did that for her to kind of defend her. And then she herself was like, well, I even asked why they would do that to Angie and Whitney. And I think Mary is really chiming in for her friends this season and engaging. Lisa and Angie, no, not Lisa and Angie, Lisa and Monica's her name, go at it because of the ring. And, Monica's lecturing Lisa on as to why it's painful to her as a mother of four, listening to her whine and complain all day. And Lisa did not have it for one bit. She was like, got it. Once you work hard for those blessings, you will be blessed too. They were throwing shade to each other back and forth. I think this is probably the start of the demise of their connection a little bit, so not gonna hold you too long on that. Then we go ahead to Angie K doing a little toast for the group. She's saying, well, I'm Greek, as you guys know. In my house, we do a fun little thing where we concentrate on a word of the day and pick it out and kind of discuss it at the table. I'm paraphrasing. It's been 2 days since I've watched the recap. This video has taken me so long, so don't quote me on it. But she says the Greek word and then translates it to, well, that means fake in Greek. And I was like, she did not just say that. She then goes at it with Meredith, and this is the start of, it all going very south. She says she's been there for her. She's tried to be her friend. She doesn't know where all this animosity comes around. And yeah, that is what she says for now to Meredith. So Meredith proceeds to respond to Angie and actually says the reason that she does not pretty much F with her is that Angie allegedly said that she would never be friends with Meredith. She said that publicly. Angie's like, well, give me a receipt. Where did I say it? Meredith really can't come up with an explanation, but she is getting more and more heated, definitely. They try to solve things. Angie's like, let me tell you why I was so hurt by you. And Meredith's like, well, I'm not really interested to know and why you were hurt. And she is just, I mean, Heather took me out. She was laughing, downing her martinis, listening to the conversations, engaging. It was so funny. I have inserted so many clips, screenshots of the clips where she is cracking up. Angie K proceeds to say, well, you're fake. Let me tell you why you're fake. I gave you my time. You did ask me about building a house, and Meredith's like, I would happily write you a check for your hours. And she's like, well, I don't need a check from you. You haven't sold a piece from your jewelry line since 2015. And then Monica's like, well, girl, now do not come for anybody's business that is just under the belt. And Angie's like, well, don't tell me what to do. Angie was very kind of rude to Monica this episode, let me tell you that. But I did also feel like that Monica did maybe chime in a little bit too much, but two things can be true at the same time. Meredith's trying to throw Angie out of the restaurant. She's getting more and more frantic as this does not happen. Mary's like, girl, chill out. Do not let them rile you up like this. Gets worse from that. Meredith's talking about how there's worse things in this world, children that are disabled, and everybody's looking at her like, girl, did you have a glass of wine? Too much? One or two? Too many, maybe? What is that all about? And then she pretty much storms off. Lisa is right behind her, which I thought was very, very sweet of her, because you can clearly tell something else is going on with Meredith. And she says she cannot be around this energy anymore that Angie K is bringing to the table. It's disgusting. Lisa's hugging her. She's crying her eyes out. She's having a full-on mental breakdown, and this shall continue until pretty much the reminder of this episode. And then we have our iconic moment where she says, you know what? You want me to go there with her husband? The rumors, the nastiness about her, because I can go her. She pretty much, to paraphrase, has a plethora of information on Angie K. And Lisa's like, pretty much having flashbacks, because she in her confessional says that she is working on a brand new friendship with Meredith, but she feels like she sees old patterns where Meredith brings things up, then, kind of spews some rumors, and then has vile and hostile energy towards the person. And she said, well, Angie K is definitely the victim in this, which I thought was... It's definitely 50-50 for me. I will touch on that later on. But, yeah, that is definitely not the case that Angie K is the poor victim in this. I think she pretty much did bring it on herself as well. They come back to the dinner table. Meredith tries to take a breather. Mary's like, are you okay? I'm sorry that you were verbally, abused and verbally, spoken to in a bad way, which I thought was also very, very sweet. And Angie's trying to be apologetic in a way and saying, well, I'm sorry, by the way I approached you, that didn't come off right, and let me maybe explain to you why I was hurt. And Meredith's like, well, no, having her second mental breakdown, or maybe her third mental breakdown of the night. And then Lisa's like, shout out to everybody, I had fun, let's wrap this thing up, because this does not make any sense. I love how the only level-headed one was Lisa Barlow in this scene, and we usually do not, see that from her, or do we? Whitney was definitely sitting there in all her stirring glory and letting it all go down. Heather was drunk out of her mind and enjoying every last bit of it, even talking about how Meredith even left with an English accent. before she called the waiter and kind of, stormed out of the restaurant with Lisa. So that was the dinner night. We take it back to the van, and in the van, even more things happen. So now we're taking the party back to the van. Everybody's gathering to go home, back to the Trixie Motel. I think this night was pretty much it. Everybody's had it up to here. Heather is slurring her words. She's being helped by Monica to enter the van because my girl is wasted. Monica now then goes to Meredith and actually holds her in her arms. Meredith starts crying again. She says, I'm sorry for whatever you're going through. Whitney's like, what is it? And Meredith's like, I can't go there. And Heather's boasting about how drunk she is, how gone she is. And it is very clear what I think Angie K was not the main problem for Meredith tonight, in my personal opinion. But I will definitely be touching on that a little bit on later in this video. So now Whitney is asking Meredith what it is that she has, what kind of issue is going on. Meredith's like, I can talk about it. And Whitney calls her out and says, well, I think it's very convenient every time you be confronted in a situation, you kind of give out the same answer that you can go there. She's listing all the reasons that Meredith probably could give in that moment. Her best friend's dog died. Her Amazon package was delivered late. Let me tell you one thing. As much as I do not try to agree with Whitney, her confessionals are top tier this season. So the girls arrive, they're leaving, and then Mary eats Whitney up. She's like, she's fragile, broken up, and then you attack her. You need to grow up. Stop being this front, this facade. She didn't ask for your opinion to stand up for herself. Whitney's like, I just stood up for myself. I am grown, yada, yada, yada. And then you went all the way to the ground. You said you were afraid for your family, for me. You called me a pornography, sweetheart. And she's like, yup, pornography. And I was like, well, damn, Mary has been holding on to that piece of information. That's probably also the reason why she cannot stand Whitney. But she stood up for herself. She stood up for Meredith. I thought the exchanges that these two have are so chaotic, but they do so good. They make for such good TV. And then she's like, period, I'm done with you. You called me and my husband a what? What did she call me, Heather? What was it? And Heather's like, predator. And she's like, yeah, you called me and my husband a predator. I'm done with you. So she enters back the motel. They all leave. That conversation did also not go well. Heather is on the brink of alcohol poisoning. She just wants a bucket to throw up in. And shout out to the security, the concierge service that they had. This poor woman was fed up. She seemed to I felt so bad for her. She was being, called here left and right by the women. Heather's like still in the van with Whitney. She wants a moment of privacy. Whitney needs to go out because she has sympathy throw up. And then Heather proceeds to, throw up in a bag. It's kind of leaking everywhere. And that is pretty much it for the third episode of season 4. And you guys, I have, in my 3 months of doing this, never, ever put as much effort into recapping an episode like I did with episode 3 of Salt Lake City season 4. This is exactly what I'm talking about. I am going to give my personal shtick and stance on everything right now. So, I feel like this is exactly what we needed. This is what the other girls were supposed to have gave. They took that feedback of that treacherous season 3 very much to heart and switched it up so quick. They are all engaged. They are all having conversations with each other. They are all present. They are all clocked in, and nobody is refusing, not even Meredith, not even Angie, to not film with each other, to not participate in group activities, even uninvited. This is what I miss on Atlanta so much this season. I had recaps that went from 15 to 30 minutes. I am now down to about, because I am seeing my timer and the time stamp on this, I am now down to almost 33 minutes, and I have yet to give my opinion. So, let's start off with Mary. Mary Cosby was the greatest thing to ever happen to Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, period. And especially now to season 4 that she came back. Mary back then was already iconic, but she had the tendency to not engage as much as she's doing now. And what I love about Mary is that, yes, Mary and Meredith have an unexplainable, unconventional friendship. But you can tell that Mary is speaking and arguing in the best sense for Meredith. She's standing up for her. She went up to Whitney. She called her childish to her face. She did not let Meredith and Angie she did not let Angie and Whitney kind of lure her in at the pool to join that little threesome that they had going on. I mean, methodically speaking, she is very loyal to the people that she likes, and I can say that I appreciate this about Mary. I can say that this is a loyalty that I have yet to witness in other cast members, but I digress. Anyways, also, I think, is Mary a full-time housewife? Because production is damn well showing her to be more of a full-time one. I mean, they have shown Mary much more than they've shown Whitney, and I think Whitney and Monica. They better, up her paycheck a bit, because Mary is delivering. Mary is here and Mary is back. Period. And she ate Whitney up at the end. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care if they think, that she has a weird relationship with her husband, her, alleged step, whatever. I mean, we do not know the circumstances of that religious dynamic that she had to take on in a very early age in her life. And I myself am not religious, but I am going to give Mary my flowers. And if she did help some people in that church, I mean, I don't really care. I'm here for Mary, and I am here for Mary to stay permanently. Who else do I want to talk about? Heather. Heather made me crack up so much in this episode because She was drunk out of her mind. She did not know what was going on half the time. But no, actually, that's not true. She did, because even when Mary asked her what, Whitney called her, she gave a lucid response. But she was laughing her ass off at the Meredith versus Angie off and providing the comedy that is needed, because Heather has these sometimes one-sided beefs, as with Lisa and Angie, for example, where the reasoning can be a little bit unexplainable, but what I personally think is that Heather is just pressed that Angie does not want to be her friend, and it is sad because I like Heather personally too, against popular belief, that Heather is a flip-flopper. I do like Heather. I like that she does do the flip-flopping a little bit, because it does keep things interesting. I mean, the black eye thing was ridiculous. I definitely agree on that. But, I mean, right now, she's everything I need her to be. And what I wish going forward is that she would not rely so much on the quote-unquote cool girls taking a liking to her. I just wish she would be a little bit more confident in that sense. Who do I want to talk about next? Miss Lisa Barlow. I was a little bit annoyed at the fact that she was, mentioning her ring all the time. But then again, two things can be true at the same time. And I think if I would have lost a $60,000 ring, I would have definitely took my home to call my insurance and work something out, and I would have stayed in that airport, and I would have made everybody, search with me, called security. I would have lost it. So Miss Lisa was a little bit in the trenches in this episode, but I liked how this episode was so messy that Lisa Barlow, for the most part, was the only one who made sense, and at the end said, shout out to everybody, I had fun, let's wrap this up, this isn't going anywhere. And I also like that Lisa did go out to Meredith and actually support her in that scene, and was there for her and held her in her arms. I thought that was very sweet. Even though she said that she thinks that Angie K is the true victim, I'm on the fence about that. I will touch on that later. But as for Lisa, I think she is doing a good job to, kind of rebuilding bridges that have been burnt. And in the preview for next episode, she is still yet complaining again. But, I mean, what would we be without the iconic Lisa Barlow and her shenanigans? I mean, please. At some points of the show, it was definitely the Lisa Barlow show, because last season was so boring. So, yeah, that's it on Lisa. And who else is there? Let us talk about Whitney. Whitney. I definitely see you. I see your confessionals. You have upgraded them. She is taking on a more villanesque, shit-stirring position this season that I can definitely appreciate. Last season, her backbone wasn't really as strong. She was trying, but that's all that it was. I think in this season she is succeeding. She's taking back her, a certain cool about her, as Karen Huger would say. And she is delivering. She is making the drama happen. She should definitely get an executive producer position for season 4, because Miss Whitney was so messy by bringing on Angie K to this trip. And I don't care what anybody says, I will not go to something that I'm not invited to. The thirst of Angie K and Whitney was unreal. But then again, let us thank Whitney for firing up Meredith so much that we have gotten an iconic episode. So kudos to Whitney. But Whitney, you are thirsty. And Whitney, you did get eaten up by Mary at the end of this episode. And you are a flip-flopper. But two things can be true at the same time. I think I either title this video the best episode that has ever aired in this franchise, or two things can be true at the same time. Because conflict-wise, on which side I am understanding every single angle right now. I think it is too early on as a viewer, and generally speaking, to kind of pick a side on who I'm on. I am obviously leaning a little bit towards Meredith, but I don't think Angie is the worst person ever to, grace the table with her presence. So that's with that. Let us talk about Monica. Monica, you were a very good support system to your castmates that needed it for this episode. I think this was the episode where you definitely proved yourself and maybe secured your spot. Or maybe next episode, who knows. You were doing a little bit too much, but then again, I do understand that the friend of, or at least the person that they are trying out for a couple of episodes, needs to do as much as possible to secure either a friend of role for the show or a full-time snowflake. And I honestly like Monica. She brings a certain type of freshness to Salt Lake City, but she also does mesh really well. And she even meshes really well with Mary, which I didn't really think, because we all know Mary is very antisocial. But I thought that the pairing of the two at the shopping, bonding experience was a good match. It was oddly very, very fitting. You guys, excuse me for yawning, but this video has taken the life out of me. It's been 2 days that I've been editing this. But let's keep going. We are strong up in here. Let's talk about... Did we talk about Meredith? No, I don't think so. Let's talk about Meredith. Meredith, my sweet, sweet mother. I love Meredith. I don't care what anybody says. She's dramatic, just as dramatic as me. She switched up her accent about 37 times. She was activated, she was engaged, she was here, and she was ready to fight and almost pull Angie's extensions out over the table. She was drunk, though. It was a drunken mess. We have to stay fair and play on a neutral, perspective, that Meredith was kind of drunk, and that contributed to her, doing some actions that were a little bit questionable, but it indeed did break my heart seeing her cry, not once or twice, but 3 times in this episode, at the table with Lisa and with Monica in the van. And friendship-wise, I think nobody except Monica, maybe Lisa, did a huge favor or a huge, shoulder-leaning thing for her that she could open up. I don't think she feels comfortable enough to really share what is going on in her life, maybe. It could also be that she was a little bit embarrassed. It could also be a lot of things. And we'll get to the thing with a kid being disabled in the next episode that she's still very emotional about. I do not know if she's speaking about this generally in the world, or if something in her family happened that, is really taking her through it emotionally. I thought it was so sweet of Mary to recognize the fragile environment and headspace that Meredith was in and call out Whitney for attacking her in that fragile state. And yes, Meredith does tend to be dramatic, and yes, Meredith does tend to maybe not give a very satisfying explanation. And, you know, for Whitney to call her out, that is excellent reality TV. But on a friendship level, that is just so socially unaware. So again, take a shot every time I say two things can be true at the same time. It's a mess how many times I have repeated that, but that is true. That is the God honest truth, because that is basically the whole episode. And yeah, again, my heart did break for Meredith, but I am curious to find out more of her dilemma that she has going on that is visibly also weighing her down a little bit. Who do we have next? Last, but maybe definitely not least, we have Angie Katzenavas. I think I'm 50-50 on Angie. I think she's a little bit too thirsty, but we have to give credit where credit is due. Without Angie K, what would this episode have been? I'm looking at the bigger picture. I am looking at the bigger, ongoings in the future of the show. This is probably a dynamic for Meredith and Angie K that secured them both for many years to come. I definitely see Angie K and Meredith being on the show in still 3, 4, 5 years, even when Jen comes back. I mean, how iconic would a mother off be between Jen and Angie when Jen gets out of jail? Again, excuse me for yawning. I am super tired, but I will get through this. Angie is, though, the one that definitely activated Meredith, but let me tell you something. I thought that Angie had the most desperate, thirsty energy last season, but after this episode, Angie can read. Angie can read you down. And I was shocked almost to hear her, kind of ridicule Meredith's business. And I know that's morally wrong, but damn, she definitely proved herself in that moment. And I also think it's, even though I think she did prove herself right now in this exact instinct, but it is a bit thirsty, and I personally would never go to a trip where I'm not invited to. I mean, I know she kind of, I think, has to attend as a full-time housewife, and production was in on it, so it's not that big of a deal. But then again, it is a little, might I say, embarrassing maybe to attend something you're not asked to attend. Just me, I don't know. But anyways, you guys, this has been really fun to embark this season 4 Real Housewives of Salt Lake City journey. I can't wait for next week's episode that is already going to air in, we have Friday right now, so it's going to be Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and 4 days. Expect a little less of a such detailed recap for next episode. I will try to keep myself a little bit shorter because you do not want to listen to me drag on about an episode for an hour. So I thank you so much for watching, you guys. And please like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell down below. And I will definitely see you in my next video. Bye-bye.